Hey Empirenistas, happy Wednesday, happy hump day. I am here for today's Facebook Live, and instead of sharing a business tip or a lesson or having a theme, I wanted to share some stuff with you about being a business owner, my journey as a business owner, the things that I struggle with, the things that I succeed in, and just to give you guys some insight on who I am and how you can learn from my struggle. So hopefully this doesn't last long. My husband is working on the brakes on my car, so he's going to be coming in and out. But I'm on a video, so we might hear that often. So it is what it is. So if you are there, shout me out at Hey Girl Hey. And if you are watching the replay, also shout me out at Hey Girl Hey. I'd love to know who's watching the replays. My office is downstairs by the garage. That's why there's a lot of noise. So there may be a time when I'm talking louder than normal because it's very loud. So I'll give it a few more seconds and I will, hey Sherry, I will start talking about, just give you guys some background, and then we will get started. So hope you guys are having a very productive day. Today I've been working on worksheets and modules for the Empirenista Business Success Academy. I have women who are enrolled in my one-on-one 6-month program, and I will be releasing the group 6-month coaching program again. I'm looking for people to connect with as far as like offering, guest speaking during our monthly Q&A calls for like Facebook ads, legal, all of that stuff, because you cannot build a business without knowing all of that, and I'm not an expert in everything, so I'd rather get people who I know can teach you guys how to do that stuff. So look out for that, and I will have my webinar next week. And I am still working with people on a 90-day one-on-one coaching basis. And that program is the Crush, Slay, and Make Bank 90-day one-on-one coaching program. So I am still working in that capacity, but the 90-day program will most likely go away sometime during the new year, probably into the second quarter. But who knows, that could change. So anyways, I'm just going to start sharing about today's topic. So as you saw from the announcement, I'm going to be talking about my struggle and what you can learn from it as a business owner. I have no problem with putting together a marketing strategy. I have no problem with doing Facebook Lives and getting on video. I have no problem with going out and meeting people. I am an introvert, so I want to make that clear. I am an introvert. I do not like leaving my house sometimes to socialize. I'd rather not do that, and I'd rather stay at home. I am a homebody. I was a social butterfly when I was, in my teens and early 20s, but now I just don't feel like it because that's just not where I am in my life right now. Maybe when my kids get a little older, I'll be that way, but I'm not right now. So I am an introvert, and it does take a lot for me to do things. It doesn't take a lot for me to do Facebook Live and videos, but when it comes to other things such as applying to be on a podcast or applying to be a guest expert somewhere, I will sit on that application for a while. Even though I know it's for me and it's perfect, I will wait till the last minute to submit my stuff because I'm just an introvert and I'm a procrastinator too. So that's not a good thing. But I just wanted to share that so you guys know. So building a business for 7 years has been an amazing experience. I've learned what to do in business, what not to do in business. I've learned, what to say to people and what not to say to people. And, as an introvert, even though I'm an introvert, I'm very honest. I'm very blunt. I am very straight to the point. I don't really care. I don't like wasting my time or having others waste my time. So it's very important for me to just be that way because that's who I am. Now, as a person who's honest and blunt and stuff, I know how to not hurt your feelings, okay? I know how not to do that. But I won't sugarcoat something. And if I see that it's not working and I tell all my clients, I'll let you do your thing. We can come up with a strategy. If it works for you, it works. If you want to continue doing something, you can continue doing something. But after a while, if we're not seeing results, if you're not doing right, taking care of business, I am going to say something to either get you to take a look at what you're doing, or let's try something new. But that's just, how I am. But I do struggle with this, and I'm actually sharing what I struggle, which I struggle with being empathetic. And I struggle with being vulnerable. I also struggle with sharing my story. That's what I struggle with. And I'm not ashamed at all to say that, because I know myself. And I actually have been struggling with this for a couple months. And I'm actually taking a course actually to help me be more vulnerable and to share who I am. I'm kind of a private person. It may not seem that way on Facebook, but there's a lot of things that I don't share. I will share certain things about my kids. I will share things that, events that take place in my life, but I don't always share things. Like, I don't share things about my marriage. I don't, because for one, I don't want people to know about what's going on. Two, you don't know who's rooting for you and who's not, who's waiting for you to fail. So I don't do that. I just don't like people in my business. But I know that when it comes to talking about the struggles that I've gone through in business, how I reached success, I know I don't talk a lot about money and as far as dollars amounts, because that's not who I am. I know a lot of people talk about how they made, had a 25,000K launch and they had a 50,000K launch and they did this in 2 weeks. I just don't do that, because I just don't feel like I don't want it to always be about the numbers. And I will share numbers as we go along, but I don't want it to be about that. So I struggle with being empathetic. I struggle with sharing my story, and I just struggle with being vulnerable. And it's funny, because when I do share who I am and I do share myself, I notice that I get a lot of response from other people. When I shared the whole thing about my ideal clients and how I changed my ideal client 7 times in my medical billing company, and with my coaching I've switched it 5 times. When I shared that in my newsletter and I shared that in this group and other groups, the response to that was amazing. And it triggered something in me that I noticed, but I didn't act upon. And it was that I need to share my story more. And my coach has been telling me this for a while, that I need to share my story. Many of you guys know that I sold my medical billing company in June, and I did it all in 30 days. I didn't really share that it took place in 30 days, but that's what took place. It took place in 30 days. I was done. The reason why I sold it is because I did not want to be tied onto my desk. I didn't want to be having to run to the phone all the time. I couldn't use the bathroom without somebody calling me. I didn't want to have payroll anymore. I didn't want to have taxes to deal with. I didn't want to have an office suite and have all this money going to rent. And I was just done and tired with it. And I loved my business, and it was so hard for me to sell it emotionally, in a way, because I had worked so hard and built up such a great name for myself and my staff in the United States. I had clients all over the United States, but I couldn't do it anymore. And I was just frustrated and I was tired. And in business, there's going to be times when you're frustrated and you're tired. So you have to make a decision of what you're going to do. Are you going to keep pressing forward, or are you going to let something go? And that's with anything. Are you going to change your strategy, or are you going to get a new strategy for something? So I had to let that go. And I didn't really care about what my clients thought. I just did it. I got rid of it and I did it. And sometimes you can't care about what people think about you. You can't care about people's opinions. You can't care about what they're going to say, because you have to be, at the end of the day, happy with yourself, and you have to be happy with the decisions that you make about your future and your family. Me selling my medical billing company, yeah, that was thousands of dollars that we were bringing in. That was thousands of dollars that I walked away from. That I have to, make up in my new business. And that's a big hit financially for me to do. And I noticed, I do have a lot of stress from that, and so it causes me to shut down. So I want you guys to recognize when you're struggling with something, to voice it. Make it known. I don't care who you share it with. Share it with your business besties. Share it with your spouse. Share it with me. I mean, if you want to send me a private message, that's fine. But share it with somebody, because you need to get it out. You need to tell people, everything. And if some of you guys know, I sold my business to Carrie, and she's here in the group. And I sold it to her because I knew she would take care of my clients, and she's still in love with the business. So she's been doing it longer than I have. So I was so glad to give her everything. I was so glad, and then she took it off my plate because I took a whole bunch of stress off of me. So when you're struggling with something, you need to let people know that you are struggling with something. So that way it doesn't start to shut down and break down other aspects of your business. It doesn't start to shut down and break other aspects of your life, okay? And of your family. So you need to voice that. So like I said, I struggle with being empathetic, and I actually verbally did share this at my at Talking Profit Live with my mastermind buddies, and on stage I did share that I have a problem with being emotional, because I do have a problem with being emotional in certain aspects. I'm not a person that's going to get up on stage and start crying. I don't start crying over my dog. I don't start doing this and I don't start doing that. So it's kind of hard for me to relate sometimes to people emotionally, because I'm thinking, what in the world are you crying about? Honey, you need to put your big girl panties on and keep pushing. You know, and I understand we all can have vulnerable moments and we all can be emotional, but sometimes I turned to my friend and I said, I think I have a problem with, I can't relate to that. I think I need to be more emotional. That's what I told her. She's like, oh honey, don't go down that road. She goes, I tried it and it doesn't work. And I accept that I'm not emotional, but I don't accept that I'm not empathetic. And I have to learn the whole aspect of empathy. So I struggle with that. And I want you guys to know that if you're struggling with something, you have to own that you're struggling with it. Don't deny it. Don't try to put it in your back pocket or turn your back away from it. Own who you are, own what you're struggling with, because then that's the way you're going to get clarity on whatever it is that you're struggling with, so you can move forward in your life and with your business. And so I own that I have that issue. And so I have to start sharing my story with others, because I know that people are looking for that emotional pull. They're looking for, how can I relate to her? Yeah, she gives me such great business advice, but how can I relate to her as a woman? How can I relate to her as a business owner? How can I relate to her to trust her to be my business coach, my business strategist? So if you are struggling with something, I want you to own that you're struggling with it. Now, owning it doesn't mean that you're going to continue to struggle with it. It just means that you recognize that you have an issue. You recognize there's an issue. You recognize that you're struggling with something, and the first thing to recognizing and moving forward is to recognize it and to move past it. Because then you can work on a strategy to get better at that and to improve your life and improve whatever it is that you're struggling with. So if you are struggling with something and you want to discuss it with someone, you can always leave it here in the comments, or you can send me a private message, and I have no problem with talking and chatting about it with you. But I definitely want you guys to understand that it's okay if you are struggling. It is okay, because in business we struggle all the time, and many of you are struggling with different things. We're all in different aspects and different areas in our businesses and in our lives. Some of us are moms, some of us are not moms, some of us are married, some of us are not. Some of us have been in business for years, and some of us are just starting our businesses and growing our brands. So if you are struggling with something, the first thing to do is to recognize and own that you're struggling with it. Now, you recognize that you're struggling with it, and then you need to talk it out. Talk it out with somebody and write it down. Then the next thing that you need to do when you're struggling with something is to come up with a way to move past the struggle, okay? Often, many people just sit in the struggle. They just sit in the struggle because they don't know how to move forward, or they like the struggle. Some people do like having adversity in their lives. All day, every day drama. And I can't do that. I don't like being stressed out. I don't like having all of that type of issues in my life. And when I struggle, it causes me to be stagnant and to be paralyzed at where I am. So it causes me to not, one area of my business where it may cause me to struggle is that I start struggling with sending out a weekly newsletter. I'm supposed to send out 2 weekly newsletters, and I normally just send out one, and I may or may not have, wrote my list in a week or 2. That's something that I struggle. That's how my struggle of not being able to share my story, how it translates into my business. So I want you guys to own the struggle, recognize the struggle, talk out the struggle with somebody, start writing down what it is that you struggle with, and then to come up with a strategy of how to move forward and move past the struggling. So that's where I am now. I recognize that I have a problem with being empathetic. I recognize that I have a problem with being emotional and vulnerable. To me, being vulnerable is not a sign of weakness, but it's a sign of whining, if that makes sense. And I'm not calling anyone a whiner. I'm just saying, like, usually when something happens in my life, okay, this happened, let me get in my feelings for a minute, and then, okay, I'm done in my feelings, let's attack the situation and move forward. And so I have a problem with, relating to people who sit in their struggle, or who sit in their problems all the time, or whatever the case is. So I need to be more empathetic. I need to be more emotional, and I need to be more vulnerable. So that's my struggle. So I recognize it and I own it. But I also recognize I need to move forward and move past it. So I'm recognizing that, and I also have a strategy to move forward. What is my strategy? My strategy is to be more vulnerable, to be empathetic, take the course, do the work in the course so that I can come out as a client whisperer, and I can continue to work on getting where I want to be in my business and having a book solid business where I have a wait list. I'm almost there, and I've been actually implementing the strategies that I have, that I've been working with the course. But I can't, I practice what I preach. So if I'm telling you guys to do something and share your story, I have to start sharing mine, right? So that's a part of how to, what I'm struggling with. So when you recognize and you own it, and then you talk it out and write it out, and then you have your strategy, it's gonna be such a burden. You're gonna feel like you have a weight lifted off your shoulders. You're gonna feel like you don't have any more burdens, because you're gonna be working through your struggle, working it out, working the process out, and you're gonna start seeing results. It may not be right away, it may be instantaneous. Who knows? It all depends on you and who you are and how quickly you work through the struggle. But I want you to recognize that if you are struggling, recognize it, work through it. So that is what I struggle with. I do struggle with being empathetic. I do struggle with being vulnerable. But I notice that when I share my story and I give you guys a glimpse into my life and who I am, that I get great feedback and great engagement. And that's when I start getting calls booked. So, just based on, I got 3 calls booked just based off of my newsletter of changing my ideal client 5 times. And that's something that you guys can relate to, right? So I know that if I share my story, I am more relatable, and people trust me more. And it's all about my like, know, and trust factor. So I hope that I have shared this great information with you. Sherry, you say you're a procrastinator too. And yes, you have to be happy with yourself and the decisions you make for you and your family. You have to make sure that, that's very important, because at the end of the day, that's why I'm doing this. I started my business out of necessity. I started my business because my husband was deployed. He left, I was 5 months pregnant. He deployed. We started talking about buying a home. We bought a home, and I didn't want to go back to working for having a job. I did not want to go back to working for Wells Fargo, because I hated the position that I was in. I hated that position. It was so much sales, and I had an issue around sales. I don't have an issue around sales anymore in this business, but I had a lot of trauma from that position, and I hated it. So that's why I didn't want to go back to working for a job. So I got a certification in medical billing. I started my company, and it was really because we bought a home, and I want to go to Home Goods, and I want to go to TJ Maxx and buy stuff to decorate my home. But I also didn't want to put my daughter Jordan into daycare and into preschool. I wanted to be able to also feel like I was contributing to my household income and have something of importance. I didn't want to lose my identity as a military spouse, as a mom. I didn't want to lose all of that. And I see a lot of my fellow military spouses get wrapped up into their spouse is someone who's in the military and their mom, and then that's it. And they have no identity outside of that. And so really my goal is to show other military spouses that you can do this too. Or any spouse, any mom, that you can build a business that, gives you the lifestyle and freedom that you want. You can make a lot of money, and there's nothing wrong with liking money or anything like that. There's nothing wrong with liking expensive things. There's nothing wrong with wanting to spend money and live a comfortable life, or more than comfortable life, to where all your debt and your bills are paid, and all your needs are met. And that's why I got to start sharing my story. So hopefully that's giving you guys a glimpse and an insight into me. Um, let's see. So relatable. Good choice to avoid Wells Fargo given what happened. Yes, and that is why they have their issues. Is because of why I hated my job. They had their sales goals were so horrible, and they started getting worse and worse. They were easy when I first started back in 2005. They were easy, and they started getting worse and worse because it became greedy. And during that time, especially here in California, the market fell. So the market fell, so people are losing their homes. They're going into foreclosure, they're short selling, or they're just letting them go repo. So at that time, they wanted us to push credit cards, home equity loans, personal lines of credit. They wanted us to push all this crap that we didn't really want to do. They made us come in on weekends, get on the phone, and call people in the afternoon and the evening time while they're eating dinner, or call them on Saturdays saying, hey, do you want to get a loan or a credit card? And I wasn't interested in doing that. I don't like cold calling people. I don't like cold sales. So that's why I teach you guys to give a lot of value to your ideal clients, to give, reach out to a lot of warm leads, and how I teach my own clients how to get that warm strategy there, and to build a like, know, and trust factor, so that way your ideal clients are already comfortable with working with you. So that's why I hated it. I came home every day stressed out, where I didn't want to do anything. And I was, at the time, my husband and I were planning our wedding, so I wanted to lose weight, but I didn't want to do anything. So I had to go to the gym to really relieve the stress of the job. And I didn't want to go to movies. My husband was like, literally, you are no fun. You don't want to do anything. And I'm like, I can't help it. Like, literally, there was tons of stress. My face was all jacked up. And so I went out with a friend, with a supervisor, and I told her what was going on at my new branch, because I had changed branches. And she was like, man, you just look so miserable. Maybe we can find you another position. And then maybe like a month or two later, I found out I was pregnant. My husband was deploying, and I'm out of here. So right before our wedding, I quit, and that was it. And thank God I did, because I had it was not a great first 5 months of my pregnancy. So that was good. They would have fired me anyways, because I wouldn't have came in, because I wouldn't have been able to come in. So yeah, Wells Fargo. That's my story. That's a part of my story, and I have a ton more to share with you guys, but that's me being vulnerable, me sharing my story, and me getting on here and telling you the things that I struggle with. That's just hoping that you guys can understand where I'm coming from as a business owner, and really showing, telling you guys it's okay to struggle, learn from my struggle. And the whole point of this is to, like I tell you, recognize the struggle, own the struggle, create your strategy to get out of the struggle, and implement that strategy, and you're gonna see results. So thank you, Sherry. I will keep sharing. I will keep being real. So I hope you guys just got something out of this. I will start sharing my story more. I'm actually almost done with my newsletter. It will come out. And yes, so anyone have any comments or questions on how to get out of a struggle? I think that I know that formula that I told you guys works with everything that you guys do in business and in life. You see something, you own it, you recognize it, you create a strategy, you implement it, and you move forward. So that's with anything in business. So I want you guys to, recognize if you are struggling, and it's okay to share if you're struggling, whether it's struggling with attracting clients, struggling with your message, struggling with your branding, struggling with, consistently getting clients, struggling with having consistent income. It's okay, because we're all going to go through something, but it's how you address the struggle is what's going to help you to move forward in your business. So if you address the struggle and you address it head on and you do something about it, that's going to help you to see results and move forward. But if you wallow in your self-pity and you wallow in your struggle, it is what it is. So don't love the struggle. Some people love the struggle. Don't love the struggle. Struggle, work past it, overcome it, because you all are overcomers. So that's it for today. So I will be sharing next week's webinar. I will be sharing more information. I will be sharing more of my story. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you don't want to write a comment there, you can always private message me. I know some people don't like putting their business out there like me, but just gotta share your story. So I will talk to all of you guys later. I think I have to I gotta finish my guest my guest blog feature, and I'll share that when it comes out. And I gotta get my girls from Girl Scouts. So I will talk to you guys later. Have an awesome evening, guys. Bye.